Let me show you what you are renting, selling, leasing, buying in 2050. Not buildings, not portfolios, not square footage. By 2050, real estate is no longer a sector. It is infrastructure for human behavior. Homes think, warehouses run themselves, offices reshape daily, data centers outbid cities for power, and every asset you own sits inside three systems: climate, code, capital. Land is still physical, but its value is now programmable. The question is no longer, what is it worth? It is, who controls the conditions under which it remains valuable? By 2050, buildings no longer sit still. They adapt. Homes monitor health and mood. Offices reconfigure daily based on workforce density. Warehouses optimize robotics in real time. Retail shifts between physical and immersive layers. Digital twins exist for every meaningful asset. Zoning becomes dynamic. Insurance pricing updates continuously. Energy flows are managed algorithmically. Real estate is no longer passive. It is responsive. And if your asset cannot update, it deflates faster than the mortgage. Climate risk stops being theoretical. Insurance withdrawals from entire regions. 30-year mortgages vanish in unstable zones. Water rights become more valuable than views. Certain coastal and wildfire regions experience sudden repricing events, not gradual decline, repricing. Climate-resilient assets command permanent premiums. Power access determines industrial feasibility. Cooling capacity determines office survival. Water access determines residential growth. The uncomfortable truth? Climate becomes the silent partner in every deal, and it never negotiates. By 2050, most property decisions begin with an AI. Buyers consult personal agents. Enterprises run location simulations before speaking to brokers. Investors scan global tokenized markets instantly. Leasing, valuation, underwriting, maintenance scheduling, automated. If your value is access to information, you are replaceable. If your value is interpretation, strategy, trust, you thrive. Real estate stops being about information advantage. It becomes about judgment advantage. Ownership fragments. Tokenization expands. Micro-investors own slices of global portfolios. Corporate campuses are partially crowdfunded. Residential neighborhoods are funded by distributed capital. But capital becomes more fluid than community. Who owns the building may not live in the city. Who lives in the building may not own a single share. Real estate becomes financially global and socially local. Tension increases because neighborhoods feel permanent. Capital does not. In 2050, a great location is no longer near transit. It is near power. Data centers, EV infrastructure, manufacturing, residential microgrids all compete for megawatts. Land without power is stranded. Land with power becomes strategic. Cities do not compete only on tax incentives. They compete on energy stability. Real estate becomes undividable from grid politics. When megawatts determine value, real estate becomes energy strategy. The real estate workforce is no longer managing properties. They are managing systems. Data literacy becomes mandatory. Climate literacy becomes survival. Energy fluency becomes competitive advantage. The entry-level transaction-heavy roles shrink. Strategic orchestration roles expand. The skill shifts from how do I close to how do I see the whole system. Leadership becomes moral allocation. When AI recommends a location that is cheaper but flood exposed, who decides? When automation makes a warehouse hyper efficient but eliminates local jobs, who owns that consequence? When tokenized capital destabilizes neighborhoods, who sets limits? Efficiency is easy. Stewardship is harder. Real estate leaders in 2050 are not deal makers. They are system architects. Your advantage will not be technical knowledge alone. It will be discernment, to override the model, to slow a deal that looks profitable but is fragile, to say, yes, the data says go, but the long-term signal says wait. Courage becomes a professional skill. Your clients will not just ask for yield, they will ask for resilience. They will ask, how climate safe is this asset? How exposed is this to regulatory shifts? How dependent is this on energy availability? How programmable is this building? Clients will expect real-time risk transparency, climate scenario mapping, community impact insight, ethical positioning. Trust will no longer be based on charisma alone. It will be based on explainability. Real estate is no longer just about property. It is about behavior. Where people live, where goods move, where data flows, where power concentrates. You are not just developing assets, you are shaping movement. Movement of people, movement of capital, movement of risk. And by 2050, every square foot will sit inside planetary constraints. Land is limited, energy is constrained, water is contested, attention is rare. Real estate becomes the physical expression of how society prioritizes.